These guys are ridiculous. These guys are ridiculous.
Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another episode of How About Them Celtics. Sam and I are here recording on Monday, January 1st, day after the Celtics took down the Spurs. First day of the new year, first day of 2024. Technically going to be our third video, though, because we dropped the Spurs recap, then we dropped Talking C's, and now we're dropping this on the second, taking a look at everything going on in the world of the Celtics. But as usual, before that, let's give away some popcorn today, shall we? Let's see who is winning some Inpopnito today. Go over to the wheel. 5 entries. There's never been a better time to enter. Comment what's poppin', or email us saying what's poppin' with a chance, for a chance, I should say, to win yourself some popcorn. You'll get a $10 gift card if you win. We got 5 entries today to win some Inpopnito. Spin the wheel and see who is getting themselves some popcorn. Today, we got
Ramsey's?
About time. Ramsey's been fiending for some popcorn. He's been wanting it, and now they'll get the chance to test it out. The mighty God. There we go. All right. Thank you to Inpopnito once again. Again, comment what's poppin', or email us saying what's poppin' at hbtcpod@gmail.com. And Ramsey's, if we don't respond to your comment, send us an email at hbtcpod@gmail.com with your name, phone number, and email, and we'll get you set up with some popcorn. But without further ado, let's get into some Celtic stuff. Bleacher Report has been on a heater lately. Zach Buckley of Bleacher Report put out 2 different articles talking about potential Celtics trades. One naming 3 targets and one naming 3 top priorities. I'll read the priorities and then the targets because, shocker, they're very similar. Top trade priorities, he said interior insurance, find a backup wing, search for cheap shooting, and then, shocker, his 3 options for trade targets in a separate article fall perfectly in line with those as Chetty Osman, which is the backup wing or shooting, John Conchar, which is the wing, and then interior insurance, Andre Drummond. Those are the 3 options they give. I stand by. If the Celtics trade for Andre Drummond, it would be the funniest shit of all time because they just sent him to the free throw line a million times earlier in the season. Thoughts on those 3 names and or those 3 ideas, Sam?
So I legitimately think that the interior insurance is the most important thing they need to do, if anything, because I think they can find an extra backup wing in O'Shea Brissett. We've been talking a lot about him lately because he's been getting a little bit more burn in recent weeks, which is good. I like O'Shea Brissett. I think he brings a good energy to the team. And I think if he makes threes consistently, he's really going to be able to be a key contributor in some short minutes for the Celtics, because when he actually plays, he oftentimes has his fingerprints all over some positive momentum for the Celtics. So what is he shooting from 3 this year? I need to have this up. Whatever it is, it's on a very small sample size. It was 40 last time I looked, but that was like a week or so ago. So it's not bad, but he's probably only taken like 12 threes.
16 threes.
Okay. Yeah, it was kind of close. But the sample size is not there. The volume is not there. He's not somebody they necessarily want taking a ton of shots from there right now. But if he's able to improve, which I'm sure they have him doing work, and I'm sure he's putting in the work, he'll be a great found money guy. Andre Drummond, greatest rebounder of all time. Welcome to the club, buddy. You can come join and hang out with Luke Cornett and Nimi and lay in wait for Al Horford / Porzingis to need the day off. I mean, we talked about Drummond not long ago. He had a monster game. He had, 25 rebounds or something like that? 10 of them were offensive?
Yeah, he had another one, too. He's been on a heater lately. In his last 5 games, Andre Drummond has had, or his last 3, 25, 16, and 23 rebounds. So since they put him in the starting lineup, he's been dominant in that area.
Andre Drummond's like a weird guy, though, because he's in this place where we're like, is he washed? Maybe. Or is it just he doesn't really fit in today's NBA, where you really want your big guys to be able to do something outside of the paint? Just to help space the floor.
I think at this point, Andre Drummond would be a slightly better version of Neemias Queta. I think he's a better rebounder. I think he's probably slower. I don't think he's going to be very good on the perimeter. That said, neither of the Celtics backup bigs are. And so I stand on if you're going to get a backup big, you probably want one that does something different than the other two, not just a slightly better version. Because at that point, just keep playing with Luke Cornett, keep developing Nemish Queta, and use the spot on something else. So I don't know how in I am on Andre Drummond. He's a fine player. I think there is a spot for him on a team. I think he can make an impact. I think the rebounding is important. I just think the Celtics already have guys who can do similar things to what he does.
No, I mean, listen, the two of us are not on the Celtics need to do something about their third string big guys train.
No.
Because Cornette has mostly been fine, and Cade is exciting in the sense that you feel like he has a little bit of a ceiling to him. So you want to see him get as much run as he can in timely moments where if you bring in Drummond, you're going to kind of cut at least that part of it off, if not Cornette entirely, who's been earning like a good amount of minutes. Like he's been fine. There's no reason to really just be like, screw this guy. I don't want him out there. So let's go get Andre Drummond. Now, Andre Drummond is not somebody that's going to cost a lot of money, or not money, a lot of assets. Probably a second round pick. He'll fit in the TPE, correct? Because he only makes like $2 million.
He's on a minimum, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, in that sense, he's like a free guy. But is he really free if you're sacrificing guys you believe in guys that you want to see develop? Maybe not. The other two, Cedi Osman and John Conchar, fine. I know Conchar is someone that we've heard the Celtics being linked to earlier, back in November.
Yeah.
They like his shooting. They like his cheap deal, and his deal spans over multiple seasons. So he would be someone that you can not only work with for the second half of 2023-24, but also build on top of, keep developing him, or trade him again to have extra salary to throw around in trades. Sure, fine, whatever.
Yeah, that's the best one for me. I understand why the Bleacher Report's writing all these articles, and in their defense, they're writing these for every single team, so you kind of have to hit all the points, but there is no team that needs anything less than the Celtics need stuff. Like, they don't need, like, they're good, right? They don't need, there's no holes on the roster, really. The biggest holes are Luke Cornett's not as good as a second string center. Well, yeah, because he's a third string center. He doesn't need to be as good as a second string center. They don't have enough depth at the wing position. Well, what about Sam Hauser? What about O'Shea Brissett, who's been playing well lately? Like, they have quote unquote holes on the roster, but the holes on the roster is that they don't go 10 deep. They only go 9 deep. So that's not a very big problem to have. And even then, they probably do go 10 deep with some guys you can throw in there at the end. So I like you said, like I've said, like we've said over and over, Celtics don't really need anything. We can look at different trade options at a million different angles. You know, maybe something pops if a team, you know, trades for somebody, then buys them out. Maybe something pops if an unexpected team decides to rebuild. But right now, there's just not much out there that you'd expect to become available. So
it just feels like Brad has done a good enough job to give them great guys to have on the roster. I think Brissett is just like the prime example of that. He hasn't seen consistent minutes this year, yet anytime he gets the opportunity, he looks pretty solid. There aren't a lot of times where you see him playing and you're like, damn, this guy, like, he's hurting them. You're just like, oh, wow, he got a steal. Oh, he got an offensive rebound. Oh, big dunk. Those are good things. Great. I'm in favor of O'Shea. I don't really want to see them bring in a Cedi Osman or a Conchar to cut off his avenue to getting extra time either. It's just, I'm excited by the guys on the roster. And yeah. I know it's not exciting headline material for us to title the video as, but I think they're worth talking about, or at least the people in the comments being excited about, because they've done just about anything you could ask of them. And they haven't been given, aside from Cornette, the greatest of opportunities to showcase what they can do. Playing in a staggered situational role where you're only out there every once in a while is very difficult because you're trying so hard to prove yourself, and to take into account that Brissett has shot 37% from three, albeit on 16 attempts, and also just been a menace all over the floor, is remarkable. Cornette being able to walk into the starting lineup on Friday after not playing in 2 weeks and have a 20-point game, including a big dunk at the end to help them go up in the fourth quarter. That's awesome. That's impressive. People should be happy about that. Queta, somebody that is on the younger side at 24. It doesn't mean he's 19 and has all this promise about him, but he has strengths. He's a good rebounder. He can get up and dunk. He's not the greatest finisher around the rim in terms of non-dunks, but if he's able to improve on that and also move his feet a bit better, he can be a great big body to bring off the bench. This is all things that people should be excited about aside from trades. Is it cool for us to talk about Andre Drummond? Yeah, it is. It's funny. He's the greatest rebounder ever. He's put up some crazy stat lines since he's become a starter in Chicago, and he fits in the TPE. I don't hate it if they do it. I'm not going to be slamming my desk, but none of it feels necessary is the point. You have the best record in the league. I understand the insurance thing. You're like, well, what if Porzingis gets hurt? What if Horford's age catches up to him? It's all valid. And it wouldn't hurt to have somebody, maybe in a Blake Griffin type role where they only get minutes when there's going to be somebody out of the rotation. Like last year, Blake was just hanging out on the bench until Horford needed the day off. He wasn't taking minutes away from Cornette in the regular season.
Yeah, you just don't really need anything. I think that's the end of the day. Honestly, if you want to talk about end of the roster, final roster spots, just go get Blake Griffin back. That would make me happy. That would be the move that would make me the happiest. If they just went and said, Blake, you had your time off with the family, join us for the playoff run, and then you can retire a champion if we win. That's all I want. I'll take it. Get Blake his ring and move on with everything.
We haven't heard anything about Blake Griffin in a while. I wonder what is actually going on with that. Because I think the people here still like him. Like anytime, like when we talk about him today, someone might comment and be like, Blake Griffin rules. Because he does. And I think the way that you mentioned is kind of interesting. Like he did get his little break from basketball. And he could very well just kind of show up and be a part of the ride. Why not? That'd be cool. They all like him.
I'd like it. Hurt. Speaking of the people liking players, the Spurs fans in San Antonio were big fans of Derrick White when the Celtics went down there. Celtics fans were there, invested in the cheering too, but I think some Spurs fans got in on the action. San Antonio does love Derrick White. He got some all-star chants. What?
Did you see how many fucking green shirts were there yesterday?
There are a lot. That doesn't mean San Antonio doesn't like Derrick White.
They were doing. Actually, just finish the news dump, and then I'll like start.
You're a piece of shit. You know that. Let's fucking talk. Come on.
I didn't think it was going to go that long. I'm sorry.
Derrick White got all-star chants in San Antonio. They were chanting White's an all-star. Drew Holiday got into the action. Celtics bench liked it. After the game, Greg Popovich talked about him, said, I just couldn't be more proud. When he first came here, I don't think he believed he belonged to the NBA. To watch him develop through the years, starting in the G League, playing with us, and then making more steps in Boston has been a thrill. One of the greatest guys ever, and his confidence has exploded. It's been a process. He's been in the league 7 years, but he's a great story. Said he's thrilled for him. Said he had a national understanding of the game with his IQ, all that stuff. Talked about how he got to watch Manu practice hard. Manu Ginobili said he was a great example player for Derrick. And then Derrick, in response to it all, said, I'm just thankful and grateful. I'm just trying to go out there and help us win. I think if I was to make an all-star game, it's because of how much we're winning and the type of team we have. So I'm thankful to be a part of this team and this organization and the culture that we're building. And me making it or not making it doesn't change the fact that I'm just thankful to be here. Yes, there were a lot of green shirts in San Antonio, but that doesn't change the fact that the Spurs organization and Spurs fans everywhere love Derrick White. And I'll let you get angry for whatever reason now if you'd like to.
Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action, NFL. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including you got spreads, you got your player props, you got over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
There's nothing wrong with us talking about this because this is a legitimate thing. There's a legitimate push for Derrick White to be an all-star. But I don't really think you were doing this, but I've seen this online. To push that it was in, I've had people text me about this. To push that it's the Spurs fans that got this going is just not true. It's not. When the Derrick White is an all-star chants were going around, there were boos coming from the home fans that stuck around to watch their team get killed by 30. Let's not pretend this was a full arena of eager Spurs fans to watch their team compete. This was all of the Celtics fans that either traveled to San Antonio or are local to San Antonio and never get to see the Celtics. There's one game a year that the Celtics are there. They're going to stay till the final buzzer. You bet your ass. I saw Himmelsbach tweet about this yesterday, and he said it was a guy in a Paul Pierce jersey that started the chants. So it was not the Spurs fans chanting for Derrick White. I do understand that Derrick White is well-liked there, as he should be. Derrick White, a fantastic individual, fantastic basketball player, does everything right, and he's not a pain in the ass. But if I was a Spurs fan, I don't know. It depends how they feel about him. But I'd be kind of heated if everyone was like getting in on it. It's like, all right. He didn't leave. It wasn't his choice to leave. But like, I don't know. I think that's like, there were plenty of Celtics fans there that were the legs behind all that. Let's not play make-believe.
Sure. The point of this segment was supposed to be, it was cool that Derrick White got the chance. I don't know how it turned into something cynical, but I guess I should have expected it.
People pay attention. That's why. I can't have it. I can't have it. I just can't.
You're a piece of shit. You're the worst. I'm trying to talk about something cool, and you just have to ruin it. You just had to like shit on something. Why'd you? Why couldn't it just be a cool thing?
I think we owe our listeners legitimate news, and that's fake news. It was not. There's a zillion Celtics fans there, and they're pumped that they get to see their team for the one time they're going to get to see them all year. Of course, It's the Celtics fans doing it. As far as Derrick White being an all-star, I think it's legit. His numbers are respectable. They're exceeding any kind of thought that we would have had of his performance heading into the season. He's wildly efficient, which is the best thing of all time. Efficiency should be like the number one thing that people look at to see who the best guys in the league are, even though he's playing with the luxury of not having the focus on him at all times. But it's clear that Popovich and the Spurs love him. When he got traded here, I believe it was on the Redick pod, he talked about the exit from San Antonio and how Pop kind of was like, listen, like they're going to take good care of you there. Things are going to go well. It's a good organization. Brad's great. And the relationship that Derrick White had built with Pop was truly a big deal in his career because, like it's talked about here, he didn't really have the confidence when he came to the league. Scal kept talking about yesterday. It was something that White mentioned when he talked to Redick. They had to beat it into his brain that he was an NBA level player. Never mind an all-star, just somebody that belonged in the NBA after going to junior college in Johnson and Wales, which was the cooking school that Drew, Carter, and Scal were trying to figure out which school it was. Shout out Johnson and Wales. They had one in Rhode Island, but they had one in Colorado too. And he had just such a unique journey to the NBA. Of course, he's not going to like believe in himself. So shout out to the Spurs for helping him realize his talent. Of course, that's a big deal. In his journey to where he is now is widely impacted by San Antonio too.
Yeah, I just thought it was a cool thing.
Also, Spurs good people because they continuously help Celtics out in trades. There was the Derrick White trade, which was like, at the time, it felt like his days in San Antonio might be numbered just because he might have been getting kind of too big for what they were trying to do. I think we talked about this. Like, what if he stayed with the Spurs? Well, his minutes might have taken a hit because they're trying to develop younger guys. And then also when Celtics want to get rid of Noah Vonleh, so they just dumped him to San Antonio.
Yeah, I forgot about the Noah Vonleh thing, to be honest. Didn't Bol end up there too, or did he? No, he went to Orlando. But yeah, I just thought it was a cool thing. I didn't expect it to turn into this whole fucking thing. I just wanted to talk about Derrick White and the quotes and Pop and all that stuff. But there were a lot of Celtics fans there doing it. And it's always just cool to hear about Derrick White and his journey and stuff. And I know Greg Popovich was a big part of it. Obviously wrote about Derrick White last year, and it was cool to hear sort of some of those things brought up again by Pop. But next thing we have is a bunch of NBA executives who spoke with Steve Bulpett are effectively terrified of the Celtics. That is basically the storyline here. If you read all the quotes, that's basically what they say. There's a lot of quotes here. I'm going to skim through them really quick just so you get the gist, so it's not just me talking for
big Celtics
minutes,
circle jerk time. Get ready.
Pretty much. So the way they came back to run over Sacramento and the two LA teams after screwing up against the Warriors says a lot. Before they'd fall into a one-on-one with Tatum and Brown when things got tough, but you're not seeing that anymore. Those guys are giving it up more than they should, or more when they should. And they've got too many people who can beat you. Another exec said Boston's defense has been huge, but the biggest thing on the other end of the floor is how they're moving the ball. Isolation basketball has been their default. If they're not playing well, it's always because of one reason: ball movement. That was the biggest issue within the coaching staff, the inability of the team to recognize consistently the value of moving the ball. And that's what that coaching staff got all bent out of shape. But if those guys are buying into what Missoula is asking, they keep passing and cutting. Oh boy, watch out. Terrified. And don't forget Horford moving to the bench and giving that group an anchor, said another source, or the latter source. Brad made some major moves, and they were obviously good ones, but guys still had to buy in. I said, listen, anybody in the world would trade Rob Williams for Porzingis and Marcus Smart for Holiday. That's not even a discussion, not even close. Those are major upgrades. The order in which the trade happens, I hear caused some debate there, but the conclusion of what Boston ended up with was a steal. Said I'm a Marcus Smart guy, I love what he brings, blah, 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 etc. But I don't think there's any doubt that Drew's an upgrade in terms of team chemistry. Not saying those guys didn't like Marcus, but I didn't like it at all. I'm not saying that at all, but I've never heard anybody, player, coach, front office guy, ever have anything negative to say about Drew Holiday. Everyone's personality can either put you in a good feel or put you on edge. Marcus is intense, but talk to people who've coached him, and there are times when his personality becomes an issue to deal with. And if you can get some of the same things without the adjective of his irritational exuberance, I think Drew's a better player and an easier personality to live with. Let's see what else. Last quote is, he's a number 3. He ain't 1 or 2. He ain't Batman or Robin. He's Alfred and the Butler, and that's okay. In that role with his talent, the Butler can kill you, and he's found a role with his efficiency. Basically, everyone is like, yeah, they're terrifying. I think so. I'm not sure. I just put them in here in the order, so I assume so. But yeah, there are.
It's a lot to unpack here.
Basically, Celtics nasty. Teams around the league scared of the moves they made. They are very, very good, and basically saying they're unstoppable, effectively. And I'm just double checking. No, the Alfred quote was about Porzingis. So there you go.
When I first read it, I kind of thought it was about Porzingis. It makes sense. Like, Porzingis doesn't need to be the guy with the ball all the time, but it's great that he can be. And him being able to do that is one of the reasons why that first kind of section of this is true, where they're not going to isolation as much because they can trust him. They know they can pass him the ball or post him up, and the result is likely going to be good. Porzingis is excellent at getting himself to the free throw line. He was ass in the first quarter against San Antonio in the first half, and he still had like 6 free throws. He was able to put pressure on the defense, make them foul him, and get easy looks to maybe get himself going. He didn't really get going, but free throws are key to that. So him being there is just a big difference maker. And it's something we kind of throw back and forth every once in a while when we talk about who the most impactful guy is. Derrick White has the best net rating, but I feel like when Porzingis is there, it's just so much different. I know they've won big games without him being there, but just the difference he can make in a close game. Opening night against the Knicks, he makes a big 3. The Pistons game, he took over down the stretch. He had a bunch of buckets, even though it was the Pistons. It was still impressive to see him step up in such a big way. I just love that they went and got him. I at the time I was upset that they got rid of Marcus. I was always in on the Porzingis part of the trade, though, because when the Brogdon thing happened, we were amped. Go watch the video. It's always tough to give up Marcus, who, I don't know. I'm not saying any of the talent stuff is incorrect. It's a fact. Those guys are certainly better players, but it does suck that he's not on the team anymore. I'll stand by it.
Yeah, no, I mean, you wish he was around for this. Some quotes I missed, which is the title of the article. They're almost unstoppable if they play that way. When talking about the ball movement, they rely a lot on a 3-point shot, and the 3-point shot can go south periodically. Just talking about that volatility. And then the last thing was, it's funny. Everybody's looking at Dame going to Milwaukee to play with Giannis, and all of a sudden Boston comes under the radar, adding Holiday to what they already had in Porzingis. I think it stunned everybody. Everybody's paying attention to the bright light with the All-Star, and Boston swooped in and won the offseason. Guys around the league were pissed that they were able to pull that off, which is just super funny to hear.
Isn't it funny, though? Because when the Dame thing happened, we came on here and we were like, kind of like, Drew Holiday, are they going to do it?
He was in a thumbnail. He was in a thumbnail before he got traded here.
And it happened so fast. It was like instant. It was like 2 days later. I was driving to the gym and I had to turn around. I was like, video time, baby. We're going. What a sequence that was. I know when we were doing it, it was like, do they really want to give up Rob? Like, Rob's going to be the guy? You really want to give up Rob? You kind of string yourself that thin. It's the same conversations everyone has now with the, do you believe in Cornette? Well, looks like we do believe in him, and giving up Rob is not an issue.
Yeah, September 28th, we published Damian Lillard traded to the Bucks and the Drew Holiday Celtics trade idea. October
We talked
1st,
to Cam.
The morning of, on October 1st, Celtics, quote, appealed to Drew Holiday as trade destination. And then later that day on the 1st, breaking news, Celtics trade for Drew Holiday. It was 1-2, bang, bang, within a span of 3 days. He was on the Celtics. I feel like, I don't know why. It felt like, not we knew, but it felt like everyone was kind of like, this is going to happen.
It was like the one time
the
the Facebook Photoshops were making a little bit of sense. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, like money kind of works, like fit works. He's not going to stay in Portland. Like there definitely are more dominoes to fall. And then, like you said, bang. And ESPN or whoever put it out, Woj, they had the Photoshop ready. It was just a picture of him with that Celtics jersey.
And hey, I'm not saying that we called the two biggest trades of the offseason, but we did kind of call the two biggest Celtics trades of the offseason. Like we were on Porzingis.
You were on Porzingis in particular before it happened.
We had that on lock.
We were just kind of like poking around with the Holiday thing. Like, what if, that would be sick.
Porzingis was on a thumbnail before he got traded to the Celtics. We were there. We were ready. We were talking about it, and then it happened. So pat us on the back a little bit. Good for us. Anyways, Celtics, basically the whole part of that, the whole point of that segment was teams around the league are not happy with the Celtics. They're scared of them. And you can see why when you watch the last, stretch of 4 games of them just stomping 3 quality teams and then the Spurs, which the Spurs or 6 games. I forgot about the Pistons Raptors in between, but some stomps of good teams in there. Next thing we got is more Derrick White from San Antonio. Now, let me pull up the clip here. Derrick White was talking about a clip of him and Victor Wembanyama. Wembanyama got the ball, was out in transition, and was going for a super cool dunk. And Derrick White, as he usually does, was ready to go for a chase down block. Now, Derrick White is 6'4", 6'5". Victor Wembanyama is 7'4", 7'5". And so, as Clutch Points put it kindly here, Derrick White made a wise business decision. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see Victor Wembanyama gather the ball at the 3-point line, take 2 steps, and Derrick White just duck out of the way and decide, you know what, maybe I'm not going to try for this block.
Yeah, like, I don't know how often all you in the comments are playing basketball. But when I played today, my gather starts at like the elbow, if that.
Yep.
So sometimes a little closer.
Yeah, if it's a good stretch, if I get some good like momentum in, then I can maybe gather there, do a little 2-step or a euro or something. But it's usually inside the free throw line.
It might be the second hash mark, actually. Now I'm
A quote from Derrick White when asked about it. He goes, "I'm not an idiot." He said about trying to go for it. I was hoping he would take another dribble and then I could try to, do the strip or the steal, but he picked it up and I never saw it again. So I was just trying to get out of the way. That was crazy, which is just an all-time quote. You can look at him. Look at Derrick White. Look for Wembanyama to put it down. Yeah, look at him. He's like, okay, is he going to put the ball down? And then he just realizes that he's not putting that ball down. And he's like, all right, I'm done.
It was crazy to see kind of how Wemby's presence had an effect on the way the Celtics were doing things.
Mm-hmm.
He's effectively somebody who can defend 2 guys at once, especially if you put him on the weak side.
He's leading the league in blocks.
He's insane.
He's crazy.
My boy Ray, who his grandmother watches the pregame streams every single night. So shout out to Graham.
Shout out.
Graham immediately texted Ray. First thing she texted him, "Holy fuck, this guy's tall."
Yeah, dude. We were watching with I was watching at the New Year's Eve thing with some of my friends, and they watch the Celtics like most of the games. Another one watches a few games sprinkled in, whatever. And they were just looking at him. They're like, "What the fuck is happening?" Holy shit, Wemby. They're just like, "What the hell?"
It was funny. He started off like 0 of 3. Like he missed like an easy paint shot over Porzingis, missed some threes. I was like, they drafted this guy first? 0 of 3? Bum. Then he made like 4 in a row.
Yeah, and then they started falling. He's averaging 1.3 steals and 3.1 blocks a game. as a rookie. Like, I'm not saying this guy's gonna average 5 blocks, but this guy might average 5 blocks a game down
You
the
said
line.
3.1 steals too?
1.3 steals,
Oh,
3.1
1.3.
blocks.
Dyslexic with my hearing.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's insane. His splits aren't great, but once they get a good team around him, and once he develops a little bit more, puts a little muscle on, like, you can see. So usually when rookies are struggling, you might say, this guy be a bust. You know, is he going to be a different player than we expected? You can see what Wemby is going to be, and it's terrifying. Like, you can see what is happening. It's just the team's not very good right now. So
it's crazy how bad the Spurs are. Like, we've
They're
got
bad.
to see some bad teams over the last week now. After, I mean, the whole thing has been the Celtics have had the hardest strength of schedule, and they have the best record. But we've actually got to see some ass
3 games
teams.
in a row. Yeah.
The difference is crazy. Some of these guys are just out there running.
Yeah, the Spurs not very good. I mean, that was the Mamu Kalashvili airball was the worst shot I've ever seen in an NBA game. That was I need to pull it up. That was the crazy
pull
shit
it
I've
up.
seen.
Pull it up.
We were watching. I said this on the post game last night. We were watching, and my buddy took the over on the game, and he was just like head in hands. He was like, "Holy shit!" We started crying, laughing at
funny.
that shot.
It is funny.
It was nuts. I need to find it. Let's see. I think it was his second to last 3 of the night. No, it was his third to last 3. This dude was chucking threes at the end of the game.
How many?
He took 3 in the fourth quarter.
His hero, Jason Tatum, was on the other bench, so he had to impress. You're muted.
I'm not seeing the 3.
You're good now.
I can't find it. It's not. I went to the box score to try to find it. Well, now I'm annoyed because I don't want this to take longer. Oh, maybe it was a 2. How would it have been a 2 though? It was in the corner. I'm not going to spend. Yeah,
I think it was. I think it was a 2. We got to find it. We promised the people we'd find it.
I know.
This shot looked like it was an NFL kicker taking a field goal when it was real windy.
It was in the fourth quarter, right?
It was in the fourth quarter.
No, I think it's glitched because I see a missed 3-point shot, but it's a gelato Banton layup, and so they messed.
Oh no, they wiped it from the internet because they said we cannot have this out there, showing that this is someone that plays in the NBA.
Yeah,
I wonder if they'll have the back-to-back Randall airball threes in there from today.
Not sure. Yeah, no, I unfortunately can't find it. They're just sad. They're wiping it. I will say it is funny because I like Mamu. He's cool. When he was coming out of the draft, I tweeted about him. I said I really like what he brings. He's a good ball handler. I think he can develop this and this. Whatever. No, he DM'd me.
Oh, he DM'd you?
Yeah. He said he was like, time to prove people wrong, my guy. He's nice. Like, we had a nice conversation or whatever, but it was like a small conversation, but it was funny to see him.
You should find a tweet of, I'm sure somebody tweeted the airball and be like, we proving him wrong or what?
I can't find it. I'm trying to find.
Send it to him.
But no, maybe not. Maybe not. Anyways, next thing we got. Gordon Hayward recently talked about the 2019 Celtics on an episode of Paul George's podcast P. And he basically said,
I might actually listen to this.
Quote, we had all had too many agendas, and the agenda to win the whole thing wasn't the main one. Which anybody who watched that team, like, you could see it on the court. But I don't know. It's Gear sent this to me on Twitter. That was the first thing I saw it from. And he was like, I hope Gordon comes back eventually. I think he gets a bad rep. And I kind of agree. I don't think he got really a fair shake in Boston. I think he was pretty good when he was healthy. It's just the teams underperformed. And so he was always kind of the scapegoat. But it did suck that he was hurt a lot of the time.
He missed the birth of a child for the Celtics.
Yes.
How can anyone be like, this guy didn't care? He missed a childbirth to play in the Eastern Conference Finals. Yep. What? How? I never understood that. Like, it wasn't great that he left because there was a lot of like, if he sticks around, it's gonna be nice to have that salary. They'll have like a slot in the cap slot, whatever. And it sucked that he went to Charlotte. It kind of hurt them in the 21 season. They definitely missed the Gordon Hayward piece. They never had anybody that could really fill it. But at the same time, like, what do you want out of him? He had a gruesome injury in his debut. Obviously, the whole season was chalked from there. He never played again. The second season, he's coming back into this shit show of a team, the 2019 team with Kyrie running around.
And in his defense,
Like,
he played 72 games that season. He was healthy.
Yeah.
So
he was healthy, and I think
Yeah.
the one time he wasn't healthy was LaMarcus Aldridge hit him with a screen. He like hurt his hand or something. Maybe that was the year after. Could be wrong.
was that Kemba? I thought that was Kemba.
No. That it
Hayward?
was both. It might have been both.
I think it was the year
time
after.
where Kemba got hurt, but Hayward hurt himself hitting Aldridge.
The year after, he only played 52 games, so that would make
Okay.
sense.
But I mean, the man missed a childbirth, dude. Like anybody that's like Hayward was, this or that, or he was a bad Celtic. Like, yeah, he wasn't the same guy after he got hurt, and it sucked. He chose to come here, which rules. I always appreciate any player that decides to come to the Celtics. I think it's a really, really great thing. And so Al Horford needs a shout out because he was kind of the first one to do it in this generation of players. But anytime someone's like, yes, I would like to play for the Celtics, that's a big thing. In the NBA, for a while, the Celtics weren't getting free agents. They just started over the last decade. And Hayward coming here was a big part of that. That team was supposed to really be competitive. I know he talked about with Paul George, like they always think about like what could have been. And he kind of said like this year's team feels like a almost closure type thing with that, where it's like, okay, yes, this is probably what we could have had.
Yeah, this is what it should have been.
Yeah, it didn't work out, unfortunately. In the agenda thing is probably very true. Like his agenda was probably trying to make sure he was right and he wanted to make sure he got his looks. And then you have Tatum and Brown who are coming off this big time playoff run where they're both the stars and they're ready to prove themselves. And Kyrie's back and Kyrie's trying to get a good season in before he's a free agent. There's all that stuff going on. Horford's also got the free agency thing. And then, of course, Terry Rozier, big part of the playoff run, he has to come off the bench.
Yep.
Just a weird thing. I think that's the difference between this team and that team is that there is more homegrown stuff going on here than that time. Yes, Tatum and Brown are still the same centerpieces, and Rozier was a key part of that. But now the stars are homegrown. The top guys are homegrown. And I think that goes a long way because they are someone or faces that the other guys look to in terms of leadership. And they have this Celtic way about them, maybe.
I agree.
You have Horford, who technically is a transplant, but he has played more years in a Celtics uniform than KG. And then the rest, like, I don't know. A lot of shakeup this year, but the guys they added are mature. And the newer faces on that Celtic team were not as mature. Brown, Tatum.
Evidently
Rozier,
so. Evidently so.
Marcus Morris.
Gordon just said the part everybody knew out loud, but all right, let's go to the email now. Let's see what people had to say
Pull it up.
in the email here.
You do the email, I'll do the background. Let's show you that.
Yes, sir. I did not. All you. All right. First email we got from RJ. This is from the 30th. What's poppin'? It's hard being the man. Happy Saturday, guys. Thinking about the last two games in Pistons Raptors led me to a new article on Celtics blog and what it means to a production to keep playing without your leads. It's a pretty short post, so we'll read it. I just had to check. Both Pistons and Raptors games are great for highlighting some things you didn't notice until they aren't there. Against Detroit, the absence of JB from the game showed his importance in the defensive rotations, as it took 24 minutes to figure out how to defend Cade Cunningham effectively. Kristaps may have missed his carpool buddy in the first two quarters as well, only scoring 6 points before intermission. Everyone plays a part. Against Toronto, we're all expecting Derrick White to step up with Tatum and Porzingis out. And while he got there eventually, it's hard to be the man, especially when the man 1.0 isn't on the floor attracting attention away from you. Oddly enough, I think the best player to help out Porzingis, White, and the rest, get better at being in the spotlight is Luke Cornett. Luke does Luke things regardless of who's on the floor or whether he gets the ball, and that's an important lesson when it's your turn to lead. You don't have things you aren't comfortable with. You just stay focused on things, on doing things that keep you and your teammates in the comfort zones. I'll become curious to see who incorporates that approach to their game first. I will say I think this is part of what we talked about on Talking C's, where it's tough to be the guy, and I think Tatum doesn't get enough help from the rest of the team in that sense. But yeah, I mean, sure, I like all the points.
It's funny when you say it like that. Tatum doesn't get enough help.
Somebody can clip
that, and, like Twitter would be like, "What do you mean Tatum doesn't have enough help?"
They don't get him enough looks. He's too self-reliant, and I don't know.
They got to utilize him a little different. Like they got to kind of utilize a lot of these guys equally, where they're just getting looks as a product of ball movement.
Yeah, I agree, and I think they did it better in that Spurs game. You saw a lot more movement with Tatum at the
It was great.
Receiving end.
Tatum's start to the Spurs game is awesome. I didn't get to see the third quarter, missed a lot of it, When I got back, I saw he was 5 or 10 from 3. So I'd imagine there were some super cool dribbles somewhere in there. But when the game was close in the first half, looked like he was playing for real. So good for him and good for the staff for figuring out how to get him looks without him having to do it all.
Agree. Good game. Next one. What's poppin'? 3 things for the Green Cornet haters. From RJ. Morning, guys. Thank you for the kind thoughts about the emails. I keep writing them because you two do such enjoyable work. Now that I've been kind, let me unload for a minute. To everyone who's having a hissy that Luke did well at his spot start, 3 things. First, who would you rather see at the end of the Celtics bench? Luke or Thanasis Antetokounmpo? That's what I thought. Shut up. Second, to whoever it is that bitched about Luke not being able to do it in the playoffs, go search YouTube for Leon Poe 2008, watch it, and shut up. Finally, you're really going to complain about Luke doing smart things and going 9 of 11 the night after Killian Hayes conducted a clinic in dumbass basketball. Have you ever entertained the thought of paying attention during a basketball game instead of just scrolling for the Pat score or Red Sox trade rumors? Don't answer that. Just shut up.
I like that.
The C's don't need Luke to be the second coming of Dave Cowens. They need him to be ready, hit his marks, and not suck, which he does. Plus, he seems like a pretty good human being. Ratless to everyone who can't appreciate the good things, like having both Luke and Nemi. Be well in the new year, RJ. I mean,
it is a great RJ email.
Yes, we've said this a million times. I couldn't agree more, RJ. Absolutely.
And I don't get anybody being mad that like Cornet had a good game. Like, what is bad about that?
It was
Give
crazy.
Me one thing that could be bad about Cornet having a good
people
game.
Focused on his poor defensive rotations and defensive play in the fourth quarter, but like, let's not act like the Celtics have much of another choice. Like, who else did you want to see them play in that spot? They played with the guys they had because they were missing half their fucking starting lineup. Come on, we do it. But no, yeah, I agree. Leave Luke alone. He's a third string big. He does his job. What's poppin'? The ball dropped on San Antonio. As I write this, it is less than an hour from 2024 on the East Coast and 3 hours, 40 minutes here in San Francisco. And no, that's not a typo in the subject line. The New Year's ball dropped early and it fell squarely on the Spurs tonight. Apart from everyone in green having a great game, it was interesting to see how the Celtics diffused Wemby's defensive contributions in the first half. With Porzingis out away from the basket, Wembanyama was not clogging the middle, making it a lot easier for the C's to get points in the paint. Tatum and Cornet each had more blocks than he did, 2 each to Wemby's 1. And as much fun as it was watching Derrick White slam dunk, I think every Celtics fans held their breath for a moment when we all thought Derrick might just block Wembanyama from behind for a split second. Well, fun game. Nice to see us beat up on a lottery team to close out 2023. 20 games over 500. Of course, today's real star was the main Celtics flannel pajama uniforms, modeled here by Rob Edwards. We looked at this. Happy New Year to all 2,000 subscribers on HBTC. Be well, RJ. I still like these jerseys a lot. I think they're sick.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be kind of heated if the Celtics wore them, but I don't really care what they do up in Maine. So go for it.
Sure. All right. Next email from Gerald Colston. What's poppin' Jaylen Brown's game? What's up, boys? Hopefully everything's good. Since the start of the season, I believe JB has been the most improved all around. I mean, when you look at his game, the mid-range and aggressive finishes are impressive. I approach every game as if he's going to put someone on a poster. The way he approaches the game doesn't feel forced or rushed anymore. Do you believe he's been the most improved, or do you think it's someone else? I think it's Jaylen Brown. I think he's taking the most.
You don't think it's Derrick White? I thought you might think it's Derrick White.
I think Derrick White is doing all the things that he showed us he can do in the regular season and playoffs last year, just doing them more. I think Jaylen Brown has made fundamental improvements to his game.
So Jaylen, to me, has taken the biggest in-season step because to start the year, he didn't look great. There was the weird, like, I don't know what I'm going to do anymore now that our team's much better and we have a lot of guys that can compete and do good things. But when Porzingis went out in particular, I think he really stepped it up. I mean, he had that really great game against Milwaukee. Porzingis was in that one. They had some super cool link-ups, some of my favorite plays of the season so far. But I did the article kind of like the duality of Jaylen Brown, where like he's really, really great against Milwaukee, then he was terrible against Orlando in the second half and was a almost symbol of how they got beat down. Since that Orlando game, he has been absolutely nails. He has been efficient. He's been careful. He's been decisive. Everything he's done has been positive, it feels like. There aren't a lot of games where you see him out there and you're like, maybe he just needs to realize it's not his night. That just doesn't happen. He's been on. He's done a great job of getting out and getting going early in the games. The first quarters from him have been unreal. And I think that's a really great place for him on this team. It's a great part for him to be a tone setter because Tatum is not a guy that gets going early. He's not. Traditionally, it's been Brown. It's very rare to see a big Tatum first quarter. Those are the days where Tatum is going to have like a 50 ball. If he's giving it to you in the first quarter, watch out. As for Brown, he's very, very important to the team as a whole, getting started, getting a lead, keeping him in a game if the other team's playing well. So shout out to Jalen. I think we can all have a little bit more faith in him. And he had a good playoff last year until the Heat series. He was good. The numbers were good. The Heat series was bad, very bad, bad enough to erase your memory.
Yeah. Jalen, big improvements this year. The playmaking has been huge. I mean, we've talked about it a bunch, but yeah, I think he's my most improved. Next thing we got, New Year, same winning teams from Clay. Shout out Clay. Happy New Year, fellas. With 2023 behind us, I assume this means thank you guys for the quality content you put out on a daily basis for us C's junkies who ferociously consume all content that's green. Got you.
Thank you.
I got to say 26-6 feels pretty good. Nice to see the guys do what they're supposed to against a team like San Antonio and absolutely trounce them. I do feel for the Spurs, especially Trey Jones. What cruel irony to be named Trey and not be able to hit one to save your life. Yeesh. Fun debate question for you guys. This same Spurs team we beat last night, except with D. White as their starting point guard, how many games do they win? Lastly, you gentlemen mentioned brackets upcoming on your list show. I would like to throw my hat in the ring, a bracket of the best Boston little guys. Pritchard versus Flutie, Pedroia versus Barros, maybe some Danny Woodhead action. Could be fun. Throw it in there. Thanks again, fellas. Keep up the good work. Your homie Clay. Shout out Clay. On the brackets, remind us in March, and we'll do it because it's March Madness, so we do a bracket every pod. But we'll keep this in mind. I think that'd be fun. As far as the D. White with the San Antonio Spurs, I do think they win a decent amount more games. They desperately need a presence at the point guard spot who can do everything D. White can do. What are they right now? What's the Spurs record?
They are 5 and whatever.
5-27. I'd say maybe give them 5 more wins, make them 10 and whatever, maybe 12 and whatever. I don't know. Like, Derrick White's awesome. I don't know how significantly he makes them, like improves them. I do think Wemby would be better by default. So I think I'd probably put them on the trying to fight for the play-in race rather than worst team in the league, personally.
It is kind of funny that they're still terrible. Like, they didn't really go out and do a whole lot. But after the draft, everyone was like, watch out for the Spurs.
They started the season. They were 3-2, and everyone was like, oh, wait a second. And then they just lost like 20 games straight.
It sucks.
Very tough. All right, last email. Gerald Colston says, what's poppin' comparison to JT? When we look at somebody like JT, his skills are very impressive. Everyone loves to compare him to maybe Danny Granger or Kobe. However, I believe his skill set is more like Carmelo Anthony. Their numbers are very similar. Their numbers are very similar for regular season stats. I believe they also have the mentality of I'm going to get mine now, and they shouldn't in some instances. No diss to JT at all. I believe he's trying to translate his game to being a better offensive facilitator. In this article, you could see the numbers are somewhat similar. Appreciate you, boys. Look at best season stats / regular season stats. Let's see. Where are we looking here? Regular season stats. Listen, I understand the comparison. Tatum's a better player than Melo ever was, and I stand on that. He's a million times better as a defender. He's better as a playmaker. He's a better offensive hub. And for all the faults of his threes, I don't think it's as bad as it ever was with Melo. Maybe Melo was a better isolation scorer. Jason Tatum doesn't need to be that. And he's a better defender, and he's a better playmaker than Melo ever was. I think Tatum is better than Carmelo Anthony ever was right now.
So I think if you went right now, took Melo's peak, his best season, and you put it up against Tatum's best season, or even like this year, the difference in assists would be crazy. The reason why Tatum's career assists is low, 3.4, is because he spent a couple years not being a hub, not being somebody that they go to for huge parts of their offense's usage rate was not as high.
Mm-hmm.
Now that he's become a focal point of Boston's game plan, the ball is zipping around, and he does have a part in it. It's not perfect, but he does a good job making reads. He's good on the drive, has his head on a swivel for kicks. When he plays out of the post, he's great at drawing a double and then hitting the open man. These are things I don't really think you would see a lot from Melo.
Melo averaged over 4 assists once. Jason Tatum has averaged over 4 assists for the past 4 seasons. So,
yeah,
there's your answer. But I mean, it's interesting. I get it. Jason Tatum has won more playoff games than Melo already, I would assume, right? I don't think is that true? I don't actually
can't
know.
really hurt yourself there. Really going on a limb.
Well, I don't know. I think it's closer than you might realize.
It's not close.
Let me take a look. Playoff games has Jason Tatum won. Tatum has won 52 playoff games. Carmelo has won 28 playoff games. You're right. Not close. So there's that. All right. Let's head on over to the NBA section. Actually, sorry, before we do that, let's play a little game very briefly from this book, Celtics Legends Alphabet. Let's see if Sam can guess the second letter.
It's
Throw it
Bird.
back to Celtics
Next.
real quick.
B for Bird.
B. Wrong.
Really?
Yeah, incorrect. Try again.
Is it Brad?
Wrong.
Bill Russell.
Yes, Mr. Bill Russell is the answer. There's Bill on the B for you. Very cool drawing. Excuse me. B is Phil Russell, the greatest winner in the NBA history. Russell amassed 11 NBA championships during his 13-year Celtics career. He's second all-time in the NBA in career rebounds, a 5-time MVP, 12-time All-Star, and considered the greatest defensive player in the history of the sport. A true Celtics legend. B is for Bill Russell. There we go. All right. And now let's move to the NBA part of the show with a new segment that we are going to call Did the Hornets Win a Game?
Did the Hornets win a game?
We've moved on from the Pistons. The Pistons have escaped. And unfortunately, the Hornets are now the focal point. 10 losses in a row for the Hornets. Let's see. Do they have a chance to break it soon? Let me take a look who they're playing. They're playing the Nuggets tonight, so probably going to make it 11. Past that, after the Nuggets, they got Sacramento, then Chicago twice. So those Bulls games are probably going to be their best chance. But the Bulls have been good. So tough sledding.
Please be serious, Sacramento. For the good of the NBA, there should always be a 20-plus losing streak to keep your eyes on.
Yep, I agree. Who have the Hornets lost to in their recent games too? Has it been anybody like any telling losses? Suns, Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets, Pacers. Lost to the Raptors by 15 is pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
You can't lose to the Raptors. That said, their last win was also over the Raptors, so that's also pretty telling.
They beat the Celtics too.
They have beaten the Celtics, but
I also don't know if their streak has too much of a chance of getting up to what Detroit's was, or even close to it. No. Just because LaMelo is going to be back at some time.
Is he? I thought he was out for a while.
I don't think he's out for the season.
LaMelo Ball injury. Let me double check. Maybe you're right. LaMelo tonight he's still out. He's missed the last 15 games, but he's getting closer to a return. You're right. He'll be back eventually.
Yeah, they're actually not terrible with LaMelo. Before he got hurt, they were kind of lurking around the play-in, like they had a chance of being there. Now I think it's dead. But I don't think they're going to lose Pistons level amount of games. I don't know if it gets to 20.
The Hornets this season are 5-10 with LaMelo. And since he's been out, they are where's the NBA standings? 5-10 with LaMelo. Without LaMelo, they are 2-13. So pretty big difference there. But yeah, all right. Let's look at the rest of the NBA standings. We won't spend the whole time on the Hornets, but that has officially replaced our Pistons for the segment of Have They Won Yet? NBA standings, taking a look around real quick. Celtics, longest win streak in the NBA, currently at 6 games. I don't think anybody else is at 5. I think the Celtics are leading by a decent amount. The closest thing to the Celtics is 4 with the Thunder. Nuggets just lost their last game. It's true. One of the win streaks has to go down. Suns have won 3 in a row. They're figuring it out. The Lakers, Rockets, and Warriors have all lost a lot of the recent games. They're not doing too hot right now.
Lakers 3-7 in the last 10. That's heartbreaking.
Not good.
Warriors
5-5. Warriors 5-5. Mavs 4-6, slowing down a little bit as well. In the East, Magic and Pacers both 4-6 in their last 10. The Nets are 2-8 in their last 10. They're falling down the standings. Knicks won their first game with OG Anunoby today. They have now won 1 in a row, and they're in the 8th seed. The Hawks are 4-6 in their last 10. The Bulls are 6-4 in their last 10. They're figuring it out. And then the Raptors and the Wizards are both pretty tragic, if you ask me. So there's that.
The Bucks just kind of won't fuck off, will they?
Nah, they're good. They're real good.
They just won't. 9-1 in their last 10. The Celtics just can't get any real separation. 2 games above the Bucks.
Not terrible.
Even Philly, they're starting to get a bit of a lead on 4 games ahead of them.
Yeah, Philly dealt with some injuries in there. it's pretty clear Celtics, Bucks, Sixers, and then everyone else right now. Even the Knicks are only 1.5 games out of the 4 seed. This clump of Heat, Magic, Cavs, Pacers, Knicks are pretty tight knit, and then the Nets and the Bulls have the next spot. With the Hawks, I guess, sneaking around in there too. But past that, it is pretty bad.
Magic rough 4-6 in the last 10.
Yeah, they've been slowing down. They've been slowing down significantly. That 2-game series against the Celtics really hit them like a truck. But speaking of the Knicks, as we were talking about them, did just make that trade for OG Anunoby, and they also just extended Miles McBride. I think I mentioned when they
And
made
they
the
just
trade,
won.
we were talking about it. They did just win, that he could potentially step up and play a bigger role for them. And it sounds like that's the plan. 3 years, $13 million. All of it is guaranteed. Good deal for Miles McBride. Good defender. He played today, didn't play a ton, but he's just, a guy who can give you quality minutes at the point guard spot, defends well. So Tibbs is going to like him. No harm in giving him a cheap contract like that.
If it's somebody you trust, there is absolutely no harm in it, especially with the new CBA. What's that, roughly $4.3 million a year? Like, that's a pretty solid deal to have somebody that's a part of your rotation on. And it's tradable.
Yeah.
Especially if he starts playing well, like teams will be like, wait, he could fit the TPE. Oh, it'd be sick.
Exactly.
Right?
100%.
So good for them, I guess. Sure.
There you go. Lakers, meanwhile, are potentially eyeing Dejounte Murray should he become
Lakers are in on
available.
somebody.
According to Shams of The Athletic, Lakers are quote, a team to keep an eye on as a potential landing spot for Murray should he get dealt, and would make a lot of sense for Los Angeles. Another report from Jovan Buha of The Athletic saying maybe you go for Royce O'Neal and Dorian Finney-Smith. Those are two guys the Lakers have an interest in. However, I think Dejounte Murray is the far more interesting guy, mostly because he'd be a guy a lot of people are going after. If it's the Lakers, sure, it makes sense. But my question to you is, what other teams do you think could potentially look to trade for Dejounte Murray if the Hawks decide to trade?
Ooh, this is where it gets fun, huh?
Yes, it does. I think Brooklyn is still a great landing spot for him if they decide to keep things together.
Brooklyn's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Forgive me if I am missing the most obvious person ever. Orlando could kind of use a point guard, right?
They could use a point guard, yeah.
Yeah.
They've got Fultz, but you could.
I think if I'm Orlando, I might start knocking on the door for Dejounte Murray.
I would like it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
They're kind of on the doorstep of being competitive. They've had a rough stretch since the hot start, and they could certainly use a little bit of somebody that's been around the block on their roster because they don't have a ton of that. I think he would be a fun fit. It would be somebody I root for. Let's see who else is there.
You want to know what would be annoying, but very, very makes a lot of sense?
Who? The Knicks?
Miami.
Miami would
kind.
Nero's a better guy to play off the ball. You know what I mean? He's not like Trae Young, where you'd be putting Murray next to another guard that's going to need the ball.
Exactly. You put him at the point guard. You trade Lowry and or Duncan Robinson with picks, and maybe you throw in Jovic or Highsmith or something, and you go out and get Murray. You run Dejounte Murray, Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. That's kind of gross. That's kind of a very good lineup, especially considering
Miami. Are you trading Duncan Robinson right now?
For Dejounte Murray, yeah. I mean, Dejounte Murray is shooting a career high 38% from 3 on 6 attempts a night. So, yeah, you are. I am.
I know Duncan Robinson's been a big help for them this year.
He's been great, but
playing like himself is huge. Yeah, Miami would be annoying. I'm just trying to flip through the rest of the teams. Quick.
Milwaukee?
No.
Why?
You have Dame.
Yeah, I think you could play both. Get some size, some defense in there.
That's what they said about Atlanta.
I think
they're different. They are different.
I think it's a little different, but
who would you rather have having their ball in their hands enough? Dame or DeJounte?
Dame, but you get both, I think. And it's not like Dame's not used to playing with another guy who needs the ball sometimes. He's played with CJ for years. Sure. I don't think it's perfect, but I think it's not terrible. I changed my mind. I have a new perfect spot, and it's Minnesota. That would be electric.
In 2K save, I did that trade.
Good trade.
It was a while ago, but I did it.
It would be tough to make the money work. You'd have to throw in a few different salaries. You could probably get there with Kyle Anderson, Shake Milton, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I think would get you there. But you get that done. The issue is you don't really have the picks because you don't have any picks. So that might be where, excuse me, where a deal gets halted. Because Timberwolves don't have any picks to trade. You could trade some swaps, but not much going on there.
So there's no.
Mm.
I don't even remember what I was about to say. Oh, there's. I don't think the salary works, and there's no
For
way it
what?
would happen.
Mm.
Phoenix should just trade Bradley Beal for Dejounte Murray. There was no salary cap.
Well, you could trade Beal for Dejounte Murray and like DeAndre Hunter, and then give up picks as well or
I
something.
would do that. I would do that
But
in a heartbeat.
Yeah, the issue is
They don't have any
one.
picks.
Yeah, literally 0 picks that it can be traded. I don't know. I would have said the Clippers before the James Harden trade. It doesn't really make sense now. I mean, you could still do it, but you don't need it. I wouldn't hate it for the Pacers. It's kind of an awkward fit because Halliburton needs the ball in his hands, but like they need defense in a bad way. But it's still not
Murray
great.
next to any more like point guards. Just not.
The Pelicans. And you move
Pelicans
CJ.
is one I could see.
You move CJ back off the ball, and then you bring in Dejounte Murray. I just wonder what you'd give up for it. Like, what would they want? You'd probably have to give up Herb Jones at very least. Well, no, I wouldn't do that. The Kings, no. The Mavs, no. Lakers, we just talked about it. If Fred VanVleet wasn't there, I'd say, excuse me, say the Rockets were good. Wonder if the Jazz would do it. You get a real point guard in there next to Laurie. Flip some of the picks you've got. Get a real player. I don't hate it for the Jazz, but I don't know. I think it makes most sense for the Heat, as annoying as it would be. Anyways, all right. Last NBA thing we've got is the Knicks are not targeting Donovan Mitchell. I repeat, they're not. Sam, I swear they're not targeting Donovan Mitchell. Mark Steinlein reported that the Knicks, quote, do not intend to mount an all-out pursuit of Mitchell ahead of the trade deadline this year. Also, the Cavaliers, for that matter, signaled to rival teams throughout December that they aren't prepared to entertain Mitchell overtures anyways. So you asked me what the point of this reporting is. I don't know. I don't know what the purpose of all this is. I just saw it, and
well, it means the I think the Cavs part of this is more valuable. It's like, oh, like I guess they really think he's gonna stick around or opt in next summer, huh?
Do you think so?
No.
You think he's gone?
Yeah, I just don't think he wants to be there.
Do you know what is the OG Anunoby trade? If you think about it from that perspective, you're like, okay, so they're trying to make a team to bring Donovan Mitchell in free agency.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, OG Anunoby is disgusting. That's a great top 3. That's a title top 3, I think. Certainly up there. They're in the realm of have a chance. It's still not competing with the Celtics and Bucks, but it puts them in that. Like,
no, I think they're competitive. I just think I almost think that's like a weird, like almost Dejounte Murray fit of like.
Oh no,
I know Donovan Mitchell is not a point guard type, but he does still like have the ball a good amount, and so does Darius Garland. That's part of the reason like the Cavs haven't been like spectacular, particularly in the playoffs. Like. So
I understand,
but
there's
put him next to another smaller guard, and
I understand, but
there's
too many talented guards for you to avoid some of those fits around the league. Like you're not going to just not pick up. Like you're going to go to a point where everybody has a really great guy who needs the ball, and then what? Dejounte Murray is a free agent, and no one wants him because it wouldn't work.
Like,
you just kind of have to figure it out. I know, but like almost every team in the league has a ball dominant guard right now. There's like 2, and Donovan Mitchell's not signing with them. I just like
this is a trade. This is not.
What's a trade? I'm talking about they're setting up to try to sign him.
Oh, to try and court him in free agency.
Yes.
Okay, that's a little different. Sorry. I mean, I still stand by it. I think it's like kind of a weird fit. I don't know if you're gonna get the most out of it, but if you're not like giving anybody up to get him, like, sure, you can try.
Yeah, you try to clear the space now, and then you go after him. But all right, that was about it. Let's get into the rat list here. Sam, would you like to kick us off?
Ooh, would I? Rat list is people that say Happy New Year's instead of New Year. Lots of messages going around or posts on social where people are saying Happy New Year's with an S. I hate to break it to you, but actually what people should be saying is Happy New Year, because
Yep.
the New Year has arrived.
It is Happy New
I
Year.
know the thought is, whoa, we're talking about New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, but like, yeah, but still no.
No.
Just not
It
correct.
is Happy New Year. Correct. Yes. Rat list. All the slow drivers that I ran into today. It was very annoying. Wasn't a big fan. I came home today after being out in Boston yesterday, and I hit the highway, and everyone decided to go under the speed limit, and I was none too pleased. Very simple rat list. That's all there is to it, but it just really pissed me off, and I wasn't a big fan. Also, well, actually, I'll save that one. I'll keep it separate rat list. But yeah, the people driving home today were annoying. Out on traffic, out on people. Pick a lane. Don't make a wall. The people who make a wall are the worst. Like, go
Yeah,
around.
the wall
pick
people
somewhere.
are terrible.
Yeah, out. Bad.
Rat list my car. So my car radio does this thing where it doesn't always turn off
Sure.
when I turn my car off. So like the radio will stay on.
Yeah.
And what happens if I go away? So I went away this week and I forgot to manually shut it off before I left, is it'll drain my battery. But yesterday
Yeah.
I got up and I went to drive to the gym and I got my car, turns on. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go get gas. I go to the gas station. I shut off at the pump my car, and then all of a sudden it's not turning on. So I had this
Yeah.
whole ordeal, like had to jump it. My dad used to work with cars, so like we have a little bit of a discussion of what's going on and what he thinks and things like that. Anyway, he takes it because we finally get it to restart. We swap cars. I go about my day. I come home. Apparently, like it's been working okay. Like he took it out. So I bring it with me last night. Go
Mhm.
to Providence, like drive around a little bit. Wake up this morning. I go to move my car from where it was parked around to the front of the building.
Mhm.
Works fine. Shut it off. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, I didn't turn off my radio. I don't want to risk this. And then I go to turn it on. So I turn off the radio. It will not start. But then 10 minutes later, it decides it wants to start.
Yeah. But how old's your car?
1994.
It's time. It's gonna
It's
be
not
time soon.
I like my car, man.
It is.
I don't want to waste money on a car if like I already have a car.
It is 30 years old. I'm not saying you need to do it now.
I'm not
just
30
saying,
years old. I haven't had it this whole time. When we got it, had like no miles on it.
I'm saying the car is 30 years old.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not saying it needs to happen, but the car is giving you signs that it is almost time. I used to drive. Yeah, I know. I used to drive. The oldest car I had was an 09, and I drove that for a few years. Past that, I
Flex.
just well,
I
it wasn't
like
a flex. I was getting my car. There's nothing wrong with the car. I've been in your car. It's a fine car. It's just it's getting to time is all I'm saying. Ratless, these two people that were walking in front of us last night. Me and Danny were walking from the T-stop. We went to the liquor store, then we were going to the apartment that we were going to hang out at. We're walking, whatever. These two people in front of us were walking very slow. And so we were just,
Did you
we
push
were
them?
no, we were
Shit.
effectively like about to go around them or whatever. And then they just
Mm.
stopped. They stopped. Listen, no, ready? It gets worse. They stopped, moved to the side, let us walk past them, and then kept walking behind us. They let us pass them, but they did it in like the most awkward way they could possibly let us pass them. Just like go single file, keep walking and let us go. Or just like scooch over to the side. Don't dead stop, go to the side, stare at us while we pass you, and then walk behind us. You're the assholes here, not
You should
us.
have mace for that.
Yeah, like what are we doing?
Just mace
The
them.
worst. Just the worst. That pissed me off yesterday. It was weird.
So, Ratless, this pizza place I went to yesterday.
Yeah.
I like this place. I went and I got a sandwich. I love the sandwich. But anyways, I call ahead. I order for pickup. So I go in to pick it up. And everybody and their mother decided they would like some pizza tonight. So the line is
Sure.
out the door. The problem, and the reason why this is on the rat list, is because they do not have two separate lines for pickup and ordering. So I'm fucking standing there as I was going to say Joey, but then I don't want it to be Joey Spatula. We'll say Jimmy is sitting there trying to decide which fucking type of pizza he would like, the one with the vegetables or pepperoni. He's like, oh, like, what's that one? Oh, what's that one? And I've already called in, put in my order. All I need to do is pay and leave. They need to have separate lines for that. It was a big waste of time. There was no order. They eventually were like, who's next? And like nobody said anything, and I clearly was not next. But I was like, oh yeah, like I'm just picking up. And they were like, okay. And then I got out of there. But there were like mad people. Like these people were like, is he in front of us? Like, I don't know. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like they should have, this is where you order, this is where you pick up. I went in, like there's two doors. There's like a entranceway, and on one side there's a door, on the other side there's a door, and on the left side that's where all the people were lined up out of. I went in the right side because I was like, oh, there's no way all these people are waiting for pickup. And there were some people waiting for pickup. So very poor. Very, very poor from the pizza establishment. Despite the food being great.
That's bad. Ratless, this dude at McDonald's. So we were hungry last night. So we went to McDonald's, and you'll know this type of person as soon as I say it, and they're the worst. Just full blaring speaker in the backpack, dude. No one needs to listen to your music. No one, like no one needs to listen to what you're listening to. He wasn't even playing music. He was just playing beats that he clearly made, and they were bad.
Well, that's why he was doing it.
I know, but then he just started playing real music. So like he was just like bumping shit on a playlist. It was bad. Like, dude, you're in a tiny McDonald's with hella people waiting. They have music playing in the back. We can hear your music. My ears are bleeding. No, like, turn it off. Stop. If you go into a building, they're the worst. They're bad on the street. They're bad in the T stations, but in a confined space in a building, fuck you. Turn it off. It's so bad. That's
Rat List is my work fantasy football league. So my work fantasy football league, I'm in the championship.
Sure.
And as anybody that may like football knows, we just passed week 17. There's 1 week remaining in the season. Now, anybody that is into fantasy football would know, typically, you don't have any fantasy implications on the last week. You know why?
Because people get benched.
Because they sit people.
Yep.
My work league, the championship game is 2 weeks long. So my 23-point lead is meaningless right now. And I have to hope I pick the right guys who aren't going to sit on Sunday. This is a catastrophe. And I may lose $200 because of this.
Mm-hmm. Who are you playing? Just somebody that we wouldn't know.
Guy.
Yeah.
Even if I gave you the name, what is that going to do?
I know. I wasn't sure. I mean, I know some people you work with. That's why I asked.
You do?
I'm thinking like other people from your old work.
You know what? Rat List, my friends. This is an ongoing rat list. This is the one thing in my life that truly gets under my skin, which sounds really funny coming from me, but a lot of it's just jokes. My friends, who I've been friends with for like 10, 12 years now, have a fantasy football league, and they refuse to let me join. They refuse to let me join. There have been times over the years. Now, I have not always wanted to be a part of it. It's not me saying, like, fuck you, I'm not going to join your league. It's just been, like, I'm busy, or, like, I think I was playing high school basketball one time. I wasn't really playing football. Like, there have been implications for that. But there have been times I've wanted to join, and I've made it known that I wanted to join. And I understand there are only a certain amount of spots. But there have been times that my friends have gone outside of the group to find other people to put in over me. And to this day, it is one of the things in my life that I just detest.
Who is it? Is it like Joe and Frank and them?
It's them, but like it's other people too. Like, and apparently, like Frank has been like, "Yo, let him play," and people are like, "No," because I don't like football. I don't like care for football, but I like fantasy football. Yeah. I put together the fantasy league this year that Jack with me. I like playing it.
Yeah, that's very funny. I will say we have a fantasy league that we've had since high school, like one of those like long standing ones, whatever. And we have like added people to it. we have let people in.
Yeah, but you don't want to get too many teams. Like I do get that part too. But
we got 12.
Spot opens up.
Yeah.
Don't go above me and get somebody that like we don't even talk to. Somebody's not even in the group chat.
That's bad.
That's ass.
That's a tough look. That's a tough one.
Unbelievable.
You are getting kind of screwed.
I'm getting fucked.
That is very funny. I don't think I have any other rat lists. I think I'm good. Yeah. Believe it. All right. Thank y'all for tuning in. We appreciate it very much. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Join over 2,000 others. I'm still so hyped we hit that. That is so cool.
I can't wait for someone in the comments to like, stop swearing.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Thank y'all for tuning in. Subscribe to Bout Them Celtics. Leave us a review on Apple if you haven't yet. Let me go see if we have any new ones since the last time I asked. I'm going to guess no, but I'm going to check anyways. Let's see. Do we have any new reviews? If you're listening to this right now and you hear me talking, go to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. Say something nice. We would appreciate it. No, the last one here is still one that says I look like Genki. So cool. Please go leave us a review so that's not the first one I see every time. Thank you for tuning in. Leave us 5 stars on Spotify as well and follow us there. We're almost at 30 followers on Spotify. So if you do listen on Spotify, go follow us. Don't just listen to it. Hit the follow button so it helps us in the algorithm. And thank you all for tuning in. I'll let Sam wrap it up.
Put to the top of my page. Hey, thank you very much for listening or watching. If you're watching, you're on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything else we do. On top of these full-length pods, we do game recaps on days we don't record a pod, but there are things to talk about. We also do Talk and Seas with Bobby Kravitsky. One came out yesterday as you're hearing this. We also do little trade breakdown idea videos and also film breakdowns every once in a while, so make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss any of those. Also, 30 minutes before every game, we're live here and on Facebook and Twitter. But if you hit the bell, you won't miss the ones on YouTube. Who doesn't want that? Like Jack said, on the streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple, make sure you follow us, leave a 5-star review, say something nice about the pod. If you follow our full-length audio versions of the pod and game recaps will be right to your inbox, so you won't have to search for them at all. If you want to reach out to us and be on the email list, you can reach out to hbtcpod@gmail.com. You see RJ do it. You've seen Gerald do it a couple times. And also Clay was in on the fun today. So you want to make sure you join and let us know what you're talking about and thinking about these games. You got something to say.
Just a little teaser here. I'm just going to put it on the screen. Might come back soon. All I'm saying.
Playback?
Just saying we could say
follow
people
us on
follow us
playback.
again. Do follow us on playback. Wink, wink.
Wait, what
wink,
did you
wink.
say?
I said it could be coming back soon. We said we could be coming back on playback soon. That's all I said. I said we could be coming back soon.
To do the games.
Oh, we did. We will have access to watch the games past the block, and we will have 20 passes to give out to people watching, but it's capped at 20 viewers. So it's capped, but I believe that has been added. I've gotten in contact with people.
Thanks for the good news.
So we've been trying, right? I like the playback. It just, we got clapped, but we'll be back.
All right. Well, follow us on socials as well as playback at How About Them C's. That's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Facebook is just the name of the podcast. Our pregame streams are there as well as YouTube and Twitter. Jack's Twitter is at JackSimoneNBA. Mine is at Samuel France NBA. That's it for us. Bye.